Okay, in this example, we want to find and graph an inverse of a function algebraically. This time we're going to use a quadratic function, f of x is equals to x squared plus 1. We'll follow exactly the same steps that we did in the last example. We'll replace f of x with y. Then we will exchange x and y. Then we will start to solve for y by subtracting 1 from both sides. Okay. Now in this particular example, in order to get the y by itself to isolate it, we have to use the inverse operation. Notice that we have y squared. What is the inverse operation for squaring, or what is the opposite of raising something to a power of 2 or squaring it? It is taking the square root. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the square root of both sides. Yeah, all I did was just put the sign there. Now what happens when you take the square root of y squared? Well, the square root is going to cancel out or eliminate the square on the y, or the exponent of 2. And we're just going to leave the square root on the left. So when we simplify this equation, we just basically have plus or minus the square root of x minus 1 equals to y, because there are two numbers that multiply together to give you y, that is the square root of y. So a plus and a minus. And we're going to just leave that for right now. Later on we'll do something about that plus and the minus, but for right now we're just going to leave it be. So the last step we're going to do with the y is replace y with f inverse of x, just like we did in the last example. And so we can say that the inverse of f of x is equal to x squared plus 1 is the inverse of x, inverse of f of x, which is plus or minus square root of x minus 1. Okay? And just so you can check out what the graph is, it's a little, the graph utilities generally don't know what to do with this plus or minus. So the way that you actually get this graph is you graph the plus square root of x minus 1, and then you graph y equals negative square root of x minus 1. That's the only way you're going to get both pieces to graph, because it's actually, as it is not a function. And that's something that's going to be a big deal in lessons to come. But as you can see, the inverse function is a reflection about the line y equals x, as it was with the linear example.